Recently, I've been thinking a lot about my past, my first jobs, first businesses I started, and it's kind of crazy how a lot of the lessons that you learn back then can still apply today. And here's some of the tips and things that I learned in my first business ventures. I can remember at a very young age, I loved saving money and working and just staying busy. And thinking back to my first business ideas, I would go in the winters and I would go door to door and try to find people that would let me shovel their driveways. And I'd be willing to pretty much do it for any money at all. I remember even getting paid $8 in quarters, and I was willing to accept it for this big driveway. I would just go to the next house if someone didn't answer, and if someone said no, there was always another house in the neighborhood. And I think with that first business idea is when I learned the idea of sales being a numbers game. That you're not going to get a yes every single time, but there's always another person, another opportunity, and another house, so to speak, that you could go to find a customer or a client. You hear a lot of people in sales say that every no is just getting you closer to the next yes, and it's pretty true. At the end of the day, when you're trying to build a business and you're taking on clients or customers, you're going to hear a lot of no's. And as long as you keep searching and getting more specific with your marketing and just continuing to push further, you're going to find your next yes. And I think that first business, shoveling driveways, taught me that lesson. Now in the summer, I decided to step things up a little bit. I wanted to make some flyers and I was going to pass it out in the neighborhood, and it would be for anything that I can make a buck on. Raking leaves, cutting grass, basic landscaping, cleaning, washing cars, anything that I can do to make a couple extra dollars in the neighborhood. I loved playing with Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and designing these slides that I thought would be perfect. I would have the logo in the center and have the font specifically aligned with the perfect pricing. And this is where I first began thinking about marketing. Also, after creating those flyers, I had to decide who would I give them to. So I would go through the neighborhood and I would try to go through all the mailboxes of people I knew, but also some of the older people that might actually need my services that wouldn't be able to do it themselves. And that's where I learned about targeting. The very first steps in marketing I probably learned in those beginning businesses, just trying to do some little chores around the house for people that I could help to make a few extra bucks. As I got older and when I was in college, I was commuting to school and working a few part-time jobs to pay for my tuition, but I also had business ideas in the process. When I was at school was when I learned the idea of trying to fulfill someone's needs. If there was any gaps or something in the marketplace that I could add value in, that I would then try and take that opportunity on and try and fill that need for someone. On campus, I would hear at least once or twice a week from friends or someone just walking around saying that they're going to go back home because they needed to get their hair cut and finish their laundry or whatever it may be. So, knowing campuses, they have pretty much everything you need. They have bed to sleep at, they have gyms, they have food, they have places for coffee, places to buy books, all your basic necessities to get by, but for some reason they didn't have anywhere you can get your hair cut. So this is where I decided to try to fill that need on campus. Luckily for me, ironically, I had taught myself how to cut my own hair when I was in high school. I hated going more than 2 weeks without a haircut, so I would always make sure that I was trimmed up, and I just decided to teach myself to do it. So I was actually able to help some of the people out on campus. And I actually decided to set up my next business venture, College Cuts. I would take my trimmers and I would go to whoever would let me cut their hair on campus, any friends or anyone that was going to go home that weekend, and I was able to save them some money. And I would do just simple things from a fade to buzz cuts, just anything that they would allow me to do, and I would get paid to do it because it was something that they needed to do anyway. And rather than going the whole way back home or paying 25 bucks for a barber, they were willing to pay me 15, 20 bucks to do it. Now, after a while, I realized I'm not a professional barber, so I decided not to make this a long-term business venture, but I did actually win an event for entrepreneurial speaking engagement and won 500 bucks. So ended up being a pretty profitable business venture. Finally, I started what I would consider my first real business, which was my real estate wholesaling business my sophomore year in college, and just expanded things from there. It's funny thinking back to all the crazy ideas that I had starting up these little business ventures, and I think that all entrepreneurs probably have that in common is when you're younger, you'll do pretty much anything to go out and try to make money and have these creative ideas on how you can start a business. Not realizing it at the time, but I also learned so many lessons back then that I could still apply today. Obviously, I've built much more onto them and learned much more, but I think the foundation is still there from a lot of the things I learned in those past experiences. Hopefully this is relatable to all my entrepreneurs watching. Do me a favor, comment below any crazy ideas that you had when you were starting your first business ventures or when you were a kid. And if you find value in the videos that we make, please do me a favor and subscribe, and make sure that you hit the bell so you can get future notifications on all the videos that I'm putting out.